away, so we don't have AMO temporarily. He's coming back, I believe, in November. Which require mechanic to look at. One of the most critical issues is leaking fuel pump, supposedly. So hopefully it will be fixed by end of the week, and we will have aircraft back maybe this weekend. I'm in coordination with NorCal to make sure that when they arrive, they know where to put the aircraft. Currently now it hasn't been picked up. They were supposed to take it over the weekend, but they haven't. So now we have funds available for MX missions and actually others, and I'll talk about that specifically, so they should be able to get the aircraft. 636 Charlie Papa is currently up in the upper parking. It's out of 100-hour inspection. It's a Nevada wing aircraft from Henderson Squadron. It's supposed to be picked up probably on Thursday. So again, they're talking to me, they got all the information. I will coordinate with maintenance one if they need to get logbooks or records or whatever. Zelda 7598 Zulu currently due for avionics to be checked up on 9th of October by Leading Edge, and there is a work due to check the prop governor on that aircraft, supposedly expected to be done on Friday. No other details, so we are not getting it at least for a week or so. Any questions on aircraft?
I thought 636 was going to stay here for a while because we're going to take.
Yeah, I thought so too. Today I got a call from Michael Prusak. Michael Prusak called me and said that 636 will be picked up today. Well, it's not being picked up today, most likely Thursday. I asked what aircraft do we have if 636 is not staying. Then he said 743 Charlie Papa is coming back, but apparently it's not coming back because it's due for some maintenance. And it has about 743 Charlie Papa has about 50 till 100-hour inspection. So whenever it comes back, it probably goes straight to the maintenance shop. So for the next couple of weeks we will not have aircraft unless 887 Charlie Papa stays here for a while.
Which they're chomping at the bit, I understand, to get theirs back.
Yeah, on the commander's call they were very eager to pick it up on Sunday,
right.
And they haven't.
I thought I saw something in Wilmerston to pick it up this afternoon. You know, but they didn't.
Still in the hangar as of now. We just
Anybody have Wilmers open, see if there's a flight in there on maintenance to take it back tonight or tomorrow? Just curious.
yes.
So we're looking at getting Zelda back on the 9th or 10th of October, and this is the 2nd, so a week from now. We don't have any flights planned this weekend, did we? I don't think.
No. My nearest schedule for flights is on last weekend of October for cadet rides. I have currently 636 booked for that, so I'll have to change it for something else. We'll see.
Are they picking up 968 from Imperial when they come down to drop off 743?
Those details were not provided to me.
Well, we certainly can't give 743 back in exchange for Zelda until Zelda's out officially. That prop gremlin has been there for a while. It's an RPM issue. When we were flying it down in Imperial, it wasn't reaching the 2550. It was under that. So that's probably what it's in there. But it's something that's more of an art than science for them to adjust. So
Yes.
anyway, We'll just hope that 743 comes down on time on Thursday. We can stay the weekend. We'll stay until, we'll just keep it here until Zelda gets out.
Somebody may want to get a hold of them and tell them not to come and pick it up then.
Oh, they know not to pick it up. Nobody's picking 743 up until we tell them.
Okay.
Yeah, they understand that. I've talked to Dan Balderston.
Well, other good news related to the missions, based on WIMRS, all primary missions have funding. Form 591 mission has a funding. We have a mission number for the next fiscal year. MX mission was funded, pilot proficiency was funded, all rights, SAR-DR training, basic training is funded, technical advanced aircraft flight clinic is funded, and mountain flight clinic is funded. Not a lot of money, but enough for already scheduled activities. You can see, I'll show you quickly how you can tell if mission is funded, specifically for new being onboarded pilots is important. And I'll share on Teams, just give me a second. Guys on Teams, can you see my screen? Should see the login screen for the e-services. Okay. So when you log on to e-services, let's see if it works. E-services is down. Come on. Yeah, there was an email about two-factor authentication for your services. Maybe they are rolling it out. I don't know.
I've been on it and it still booted me out. I'm in, and it seems to be.
We could be saturating the Wi-Fi.
No, it shouldn't be. Our Wi-Fi is very strong.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I put up the QR code.
Ah, okay. By the way, see this QR code? If you need to sign into our Wi-Fi, just scan the QR code.
Wow.
And it
Easy.
works with the logo in there, huh? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Squadron logo is part of the QR code.
We,
Magically.
Andre made that and we tested it and it works. At least it worked the other day.
You guys have too many brains.
So when you log on to WIMRS, you land on the current missions page. And on the current mission page, what you do, you type 24- and you will see all current missions. Green means good to go. And you see some of them already have sorties scheduled. So, for example, all rights. Okay, so annual cadet orientation rights, you click on it. And on the mission page, you will see the amount remaining in the budget. So as people start flying cadets, that number starts going down. And once it reaches 0, you can no longer release the flight because it's gonna be negative. So it may technically go negative, but they're trying to prevent it from happening. So don't fly the mission which has 0 negative funding. Okay.
It should not allow you.
It should not allow you, but you may plan it out, come and ask for release. The flight release officer will not be able to release you because it's gonna be negative.
Yeah, negative.
So what you should do, technically, you should reach out to me or Terry, and we will escalate it to the WinDO for additional funding, or at least get an update when the funding may be available. Any questions? All right. So I'll stop showing that for now. Few more updates. If anyone is following AOPA Air Safety Institute videos, there was a very sad news over the week. Richard McSpadden, who was leading that, was killed in aviation accident at Lake Placid. He was flying in the right seat. The name of the pilot in the left seat is unknown. It's unknown if Richard was at controls. They had engine failure on takeoff, tried to return to the airport. They successfully made a turnaround, but they didn't make it to the runway. So that's a very sad, big loss for general aviation. Richard was extremely valuable for our community.
I believe the pilot was Russ Francis, a retired NFL tight end for the New England Patriots.
That's not good either.
Yeah, no, it's shocking.
Yeah, very sad news. That means Richard probably was a instructor in that flight.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Everybody flies the Cessna thinks that they can make a turnaround and get back to the field, even though it's a rough runner. It's really questionable if you can get back. We really don't know what's going to happen to the engine. So even with an engine failure, which means that you don't have any engine operation, you plow straight ahead. Instead of trying to make the turn unless you got altitude.
Yeah, I couldn't find information which runway he was flying. It's a single runway, two directions, right? So on one side, he had options. There was a farm field almost straight ahead. On the other side, it was forest. And perpendicular to the runway, there is a road. So I don't know what the conditions were. I know the airport was closed for a couple of days after the accident. I actually didn't check if it was reopened. But the NTSB was immediately on the spot, and given the, what kind of people were flying, there will be all kinds of attention to it. But to me, it's kind of eye-opening, because people with that kind of, experience still may find themselves in a situation when it's very little amount of time available to make the right decision, and it's going. Hopefully, we will not have that moment in our lives, but stay vigilant, be aware of your environment, know your options at all times. And I learned from Terry specifically, he's religiously rehearsing his memory items before every takeoff, and I started to do the same. So check your options, where runway goes, what is ahead of you, where you may put the aircraft should it lose power, what kind of obstacles you may have, and so on and so forth. Know the airplane, know how much altitude you need to do successful turnaround. It's not impossible. It's not necessarily impossible given you have enough altitude, given the wind is right, and many other factors come into play. How much time you spend on hesitation when the engine fails. So exercise that in your mind as frequently as you can.
One of the things that's truly ironic is he just published an article a couple of months ago on the impossible turn in the NPA. He did crash into the wooded area, so it was that area that he was taking off into.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's very, very, very ironic in many ways. And
aviation is interesting. When you hear about something happening, and a report comes out, an awful lot of time it's pilot error. And these are things we can hang our hat on. It gives us some sense of comfort to say, well, as a Monday morning quarterback, I wouldn't have done it that way. This guy was an F-16 pilot, the lead Thunderbird on over 100 demonstration flights. This guy was a Top Gun type of a guy, and for it to happen to him, it's scary.
What was he flying?
Cessna
Cardinal
172.
177.
Oh, 177, yes, it was Cardinal.
Yeah, which, that's a small airplane. I mean, may as well be a 172 in terms of useful load. And Russ Francis could not be a small guy. He's an NFL tight end, so I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. on the NTSB.
All right.
Sad.
A few other updates. Michelle, do you have any updates on Rough Across America?
Yes. Let me see if I could, I did sign up for Youth Across America. They sent me an email, which I'm going to try to post on Teams, the website, and what do you call it? Flyers that can be printed out and sent. Um, I think I forwarded that email to you this morning. Um, and so hopefully we can get started with that. Anyone can, once I send the link, anyone can share it. You can print out as much flyers as you want. Charles was actually telling me, and he can speak more to this, that I think the props email that we usually get, there's actually a session where WAA will go over resources, and I haven't seen much of it yet. I haven't read much of it. Charles can actually talk more about that, but we are signed up. Yay. We have the $5 plan, and we'll see how that goes. And I'll post more about it on Teams.
All right, thank you. Next, I'll give a word to Michael and Harper to share your ideas about the Nighthawk haunted hangar. Yes, like a few minutes.
Hello, Mike Hubman. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking, and Michelle noticed that the Nighthawk was going to fall on Halloween night. And then I had the idea, well, oh, by the way, we were doing all of this when that happened, and we were looking to build our membership. And so I had the idea, let's do a membership outreach and with a Halloween theme. And then Harper came along and named it Haunted Hangar. And so it started out that Michelle was going to work with me, and then she's in charge of the 14th Halloween event at the hangar, and Harper is on board. So we are leading this, but everybody is invited to help steer this and put in their ideas and their yeses and nos. And also, we're going to need some volunteers to pull this off. The invite list is every flight school we can get our hands on, other squadrons, and also I want to put on the list the Red Cross Club at RCC. They're related in their disaster relief efforts, so they might be interested. We can use some help at the gate when people arrive to welcome them and open the gate for them and point them in the right direction. Major Benner has tentatively offered to give us or bring along smoke and spooky things. And I had this on my porch, and I didn't know it, but it actually speaks to you. Well, anyway, and this one is it has a spooky looking yellow light in it. I don't know if it needs a battery at the moment, but we can put that in the, huh?
What are those for?
This one we're going to put it in the airplane, make the airplane look spooky. Okay, so we're going to put it out of the hangar and keep an eye on it, but there's no reason we can't make the airplane look spooky. Maybe we could even put some cobwebs on it. I don't know. There's things that we want to do and other people want to object to it. So if you participate, you can add your input and your yeses and nos and do's and don'ts. And on my phone here, I have how do I do this? Just like that. You got to blow it up.
Okay.
Here, we're going to
So
blow it
you
up.
can text it to me and I can.
Well, all right. Is that being picked up?
A little higher.
Raise it up a little higher. There you go.
That
Not
is.
really.
That's Parker's. That's Harper's draft of the flyer, and
Harper, you can actually share it if you're at the computer. You can project it on Teams.
Oh, right. I don't know how to do that. Let me see. Share. Oh, I can share a photo. Yeah, here we go.
okay. I'm going to put the
let me
phone
do that.
down. Let's see if it comes
Yeah,
up.
1 moment. It's kind
Sure.
of trying to find it on my camera roll here.
So
Yeah, there is more information that we have talked about. Do I just click start presenting? I guess
Yeah.
that's, there it is.
Perfect.
So
there it is.
Is that visible?
Yes.
There it is.
Clearly.
Okay. So it has some of the information that we were talking about where we wanted to have a RSVP by date and have the space is limited in terms of if we're still going to do the barbecue, we need to know approximately how many people would show up so we could have food, but we don't know how many people we would be approved to have there. So definitely we still want to reach out to the airport manager and get more info of like what are the limits that they suggest for this kind of thing.
And I would like to nominate Andre to approach the airport management.
Yeah, I will. I will check with Manu
Okay.
and see
If it's not necessary, we could skip that. But but you're the squadron commander, so you feel it's necessary, we'll ask them. And then there'll be all kinds of. They'll probably put it on the draft of the flyer, some of these things, and then squadron members can. We still have time, so squadron members can put in their 2 cents, whether they like these ideas or not, and I would like you all to consider yourselves a member of the committee, and I'd like to actually do this, and actually do some recruiting behind it,
Okay.
and have fun. It's Halloween night.
Sounds good.
Halloween is the #1 adult party night of the year.
Good.
All right. Oh, well, and thank you very much. This is my very first time at the podium.
Good.
I'm
Not
going to take
the
my
last
little
one.
friend.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Harper. So keep communication going on Teams channel for general communications. Members keep in mind that the primary communication channel is Teams for us and email. Teams makes it more dynamic, I would say, so make sure everybody has the Teams installed on your mobile device. Last and not least, before I hand it over to Terry, is about new fiscal year, new round of membership dues. For those members who are new to the squadron and who paid full dues last year, I sent an individual email with prorated amount, which is due for the new fiscal year. For the rest, cash a check to me or Michelle. Michelle is not here than myself. We'll give you a receipt due the tax deductible. Any questions, anytime, reach out to my phone, email, Teams, whatever you find convenient. Okay, Terry?
Just 1 second.
One last thing on the wreaths across America, that training, everybody received what's referred to as a props email, and it's in there, but the training is October 18th, and what they're supposed to do is kind of tell you how to get the most out of the program and that kind of thing. So it's October 18th at 7 p.m. Central Time.
All right, thank you. Terry?
All right. So, hello everybody. I'm Terry. In case you don't know who I am, because I'm not here very often, but do a lot with CAP, just haven't been in a lot of meetings. I'm going to try to change that. Who needs a scanner rating in this classroom? Does everybody have a scanner rating? Who needs an observer rating? Okay. Who's a pilot?
I don't have a skin rating yet.
Who is
Okay,
that?
Harper too.
Harper. Who is a pilot but is not checked out with Civil Air Patrol? Okay. Why not? Okay.
You know.
So tell me a little bit about your background in flying. How many hours do you have?
650.
Okay.
Around 650.
That's all I need to know. And I know your background and you're working. Are you a pilot, Chuck?
No.
Okay. All right. And we have somebody that's new here today. I think you said from a
Dennis
different
is from,
squadron.
Cable
Squadron
Squadron.
25.
Okay, good to see you. The number one thing that we've got to do in 2023-24 is to increase our emergency services capabilities here. And so if you're a scanner, we need to make you an observer. If you're a scanner and you're a pilot, we need to make you a pilot. And so we're going to try to have, and I'm not sure, anybody online there, Harper said that you need a scanner. And I think Michelle and Chris. All right, so we're going to make that a priority to have a scanner and observer ground school here. We're going to try to figure out when that's going to be, okay? And we'll also get those flights in, because I think we're going to bring the training down to the squadron level. And I think I'm at least a set for all of it, and I know that I could do those flights and sign everybody off. So that's looking forward to 2024. Just in that vein, this isn't necessarily anything you do in that. I'm going to give this to you, and if you like it, make copies of it. This is it's a flight log for scanners and observers. You want this, Bob? It's something that I came up with based on my, I don't know, been here 35 years. One of the real needs, scanner is one thing, but you really can't be an aerial photographer unless you're a scanner, right? So you got to get that. So what we really need is aerial photographers, because if we're really talking about the future of Civil Air Patrol, we're not talking about emergency services, search and rescue, okay? We're talking about disaster relief, okay? Fortunately, I suppose, through location services with cell phones and cell phone forensics, there just hasn't been much search and rescue activity for us in the last several years. But what there has been is an awful lot of disaster relief photo requests. Getting back to the emergency services side of things, for search and rescue, there is an up-and-coming opportunity to serve a Civil Air Patrol in that regard with drones. Okay, that's probably going to be the main emergency services tools that Civil Air Patrol can offer in the way of search and rescue for both individuals and or lost hikers, that type of thing, or in the event of an aircraft, that will become more and more of a thing, because what you have is a very localized area. Whenever you're a very localized area and you're looking for something very specific, drones are very good at that. To be able to go out and capture images over thousands of square miles, that's where we come in terms of our flying. So we need aerial photographers. We have one right back there, Dave Hull. I would ask that any of you guys that are interested here or online to become an aerial photographer to go talk to Dave and see how you can start in that process. Okay. So you've got disaster relief. That's one way that we can serve, right? We have counter drug. All right. Who's been here for 2 years in Civil Air Patrol? Okay. And if you've been here for more than 2 years, is your Form 83? You are, I know. Is your Form 83 in?
It could be.
Okay. Your Form 83 is in, and you're not quite in 2 years?
No.
Do you have a law enforcement background?
Just military. No law enforcement.
No law enforcement?
Military.
You have law enforcement background?
Yeah, I was 18 years of reserve deputy.
Well, then you should be able to be
I
rent.
have a year and a half from the CAP.
Okay. You know, Tom Barbary, I want you to, that email, Thomas.Barbary, Barbre. Send him an email and ask him if your law enforcement background, if you have to be current law enforcement, or are you current law enforcement? Okay. All right. Anyway, even though you're in a year and a half, I would, you know, in 3 more months, no matter what, go ahead and put your Form 83 in at 1 year and 9 months so that it's returned in the 2 years. So we talked about emergency services, okay? We really need photographers. Counter drug, you've got to be in for 2 years before you get into the program. I'm sorry to say, there's rumor that that's going away altogether. So we don't know yet.
What, the CD?
Yeah, with counter drug. So as far as the future is concerned, it's going to be being part of an air crew. I mean, we're a flying squadron here and being able to take pictures. Dave, do you have any? You've gone with me on several training sorties. Are you a professional photographer?
I am not.
You know how to use an SLR camera? Okay. So how difficult is it in your mind to?
Well, getting familiar with the controls on the camera and not bumping the controls while you're in flight, or if you do, know how to recover those settings are the hardest part of operating the camera. There's a checklist that you follow, and it has all those settings defined. So if you stick with the plan and know how to operate it, you do test photos on the ground. It's fairly easy to pick up.
So it doesn't sound like it's rocket science, right? And we need, I would say this year we need at least 3 more aero photographers in the squadron, for sure. And we need 2 more pilots. One of my jobs is Director of Operations for Group 3. And part of that job is assigning assets like aircraft. And we have to have a good reason why we have an aircraft here. Regardless of whether or not this is my home squadron or not, we have to fly that aircraft. We have to fly it on meaningful missions. To do that, we have to be trained up in these missions. So I'm going to be going through and looking at the squadron in terms of what the qualifications are, the scanners and the observers, but I just want to lay out there that says, look, whatever you are right now, you can't stay there. If you're a scanner, you've got to become an observer and an AP or both, okay? We need you guys to start progressing up through the ES ranks because, you know, Chuck over there isn't always available whenever somebody needs to fly. So if he's not available, somebody else has got to step up, right? So if you have many hands make the work light, right? So if I'm not available to fly, Andre can fly, but Squadron can answer the call. So let's talk about how we did that in 2023 just for a second. Can you bring up Wimmers and the Cow Wing flight hours total?
Okay, where do I find that?
So it's under
Reports.
reports, right there. And then go down to Powered Wing fiscal year report, right there, that one. And then select fiscal year 2023. Now, I'm not sure these numbers have been updated. That's part of what our maintenance officer does, is make sure. So if we go down to 743 Charlie Papa, if there's any way to blow up these numbers here a little bit, or blow the, can you guys see any of those numbers? You probably can't. Across the top, if you go across the top, scroll up so we see the top here just for a second. There. These are all the missions for Civil Air Patrol. A B mission is an Air Force assigned mission that has different insurances, okay, but it's a self-funded mission. A C is a corporate mission, self-funded. So all these things here are essentially practice from B all the way over to the end of C. That's just boring holes in the sky, proficiency, self-funded flights. We get over here into the A missions, okay? A0, can somebody look that up for me? Because I'm not exactly sure what that is. Mike, would you look that up? A1, oops.
Yeah, just I'll find it.
A1 is search and rescue. This is a red cap, okay? This is our #1 priority mission. Let's scroll down here and look and see what the total hours for the wing was right there. Okay, that's not right. 511. Just go back up here. That might be nationwide.
That's 250.
No, that's
A0 is
2.5. A0 is. A1 is search and rescue. 2.5 plus 2.8 plus 5, less than 10 hours this year is A1. And ELT is an A1 mission. Lost aircraft is that, lost hiker, that type of thing. So you can see we're not flying any of that anymore. Scroll up here again. A3, someone look up what A0 is for me, please.
He's looking it up.
Okay, and A2, but they're like liaison officer missions or whatever. A3 is counter drug, okay? This is a mission that might be going away. Scroll down to the bottom here. See, there's a healthy number of numbers there. 1,000 hours of flying this year of A3 time. If you scroll up here to 743 Charlie Papa, where are we at? 167 hours. There's not anybody even close to that. Is there another airplane in the hundreds? Go up here. Scroll up. Is there anybody even in the hundreds? There is one other aircraft out of the 26 or 27 aircraft in the wing that hit 100 hours on that. Our home squadron, we flew 167 hours on that. That's called flying meaningful missions, right? So we did that's a fantastic job on that. And there's a couple of people here that I could thank for that. Andre and Chris, Dave, you run a lot of those missions. So
just a second. Sasha. They're not. I'm not presenting.
well, you got all kinds of things going on there.
Oh, sorry.
All right, if we scroll up a little bit further to the top. A5, these are flight evaluations, okay? Or, yeah, like Form 5s, Form 91s, that kind of thing. So guys can check that in airplanes. People can check that in airplanes. A7 is practice flying. At the flight clinic, something like that. Lots of hours in here. Right? You do it, I mean, I appreciate all of that. It's good. We need to stay proficient in all that, but where we really want to be is serving on these scroll up so I can see the numbers. Okay. There's lots of people flying these practice missions here. If you look at 743 Charlie Papa, just scroll. 19 hours of practice. Scroll over here to the right because I want to show everybody here. Out of how many hours there, Andre? 400 and something. Well, I know this isn't updated. 392 hours this year. So, I know I've got you going all over the place. Here's another thing that I want to point out. A15. So, it's kind of scary. If we lose this counter drug, right, and we're not flying any A1 missions, what are we going to be flying? There's Western Air Defense Sector. That might grow a little bit. Okay, we talked about the fire missions, and frankly, that is going to be everything for emergency services. But here's why we need pilots. You see this A15 right here? This is cadet rides. We need pilots to become cadet orientation pilots in the squadron. So we used to stand up here and say I need mission pilots and all that, but the fact of the matter is we do need mission pilots, but if you don't have the amount of time it takes to become a mission pilot right away, what we need you, if you've got a pilot's license and you've got 100 hours of PIC, we need to have you flying cadets. Remember, we talked about the metrics that go into saying whether or not you can keep an aircraft or not. It's 200 hours a year per aircraft location. So we've got to fly an aircraft 200 hours a year if it's in our care to justify keeping it here. If you're not flying any A1, you're not flying any A3, and fire season is October and November, what are you going to be, you fly the practice missions, which we're going to be doing, and getting people prepared to go out and answer the call as scanners, observers, and aerial photographers. But we need pilots in there to fly those cadet rides. A-18, the Western Air Defense Sector. Has anybody flown on one of those here? You've never flown on one?
Just one.
Okay. I could tell you that I've volunteered for that mission every single month for the last year and a half. And I've gotten 3 flights, maybe.
I stopped volunteering.
So there's
They
some.
stopped- they stopped
Are
sending
you
me up
are
there.
you experiencing the same kind?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
did
they-
an
they like
analysis.
the same cruise
I
every
did an
time.
analysis on it. I went through every flight release for a year on that, and it came back, and I have a spreadsheet on it that shows how many Group 1 guys are getting those rides, and that's where the mission is being handled out of. So there's an extreme amount of prejudice in one way.
Oh, politics.
Right. So
Always has been.
we've got our hands full, okay, is what I'm telling you, in terms of justification to keep an aircraft here. It's going to take all hands on deck. Everybody get trained up. Training missions count. That's why I want to get you guys to the airplane. Fly and get you guys ready to, answer that call if there is a fire mission out there. We have the aerial photographers that we can be one of those 3 or 4 airplanes that are out there looking for it. Okay, if we've got 2 or 3 mission pilots, we have 2. We need probably another one. If we've got 2 or 3 mission pilots, so we've got 4 or 5 observers and 4 or 5 scanners and 4 or 5 aerial photographers, we can put together one crew and answer that call. So it's going to be really, really important this year that we don't rest on our laurels. Right now, if you go over to the right-hand side, Andre, you'll see that there isn't an airplane that's even close to the amount of hours that we flew this year. There might be one with 3, well, there's 372. I'm surprised about that. Anyway. We flew more actual mission hours, we flew more cadets, we flew more hours than any other aircraft in wing. All that means is we get to keep our airplane probably this year. So none of that's guaranteed next year. So you've got 600 hours, we need to get you flying right away. So I'll talk to you after the meeting. And yeah.
One of the issues is I'm 2 flights away and an ELT mission from getting my MO.
Okay.
But all of the services have been canceling.
Yeah.
So,
We're gonna try to get you signed off here locally.
We have this mission, SAR-DR mission, generic one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rolling mission for the whole year, and it's used specifically for this kind of circumstances. So if you just need a couple of practical flights or a single practical flight, just talk to Terry, myself. We will get you on board and get you.
And when you say an ELT mission, you're just simply saying a practice ELT.
That's correct.
Yeah, we can handle all of that right here for you.
Yeah, Michael can plant an ELT someplace, and we'll go find
Yeah.
it.
Here's the thing. You've got to be willing to want to do it. You sound like you're willing to want to do it, Chuck. Hopefully everybody's willing to want to do it. Okay? It's not easy. I shouldn't say it's not easy. It's actually simple. It's just you got to spend the time and put the effort out to do it. You've got to check those boxes off. What I am telling you is we need you, okay, to do it. I used to stand at the airplane at air shows and talk to people, try to talk them into joining Civil Air Patrol, talk them in what the great value was. I stopped doing that a long time ago because what I realized was unless they want to do it, there's nothing that I can do. If you want to volunteer your time and you want to spend that effort and energy, then guess what? You're going to get just as much out of it as you put into it. All right? Bob's been here for, he's been here for as long as I have, Bob, 30 years probably. And so you get what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it. Bob served, I have no idea how many positions you've kept at Squadron, besides Squadron Commander, at group level, and safety, and all these things that you've been involved with. So
And I would say that had you not been involved, you probably still wouldn't be here. Right? I know that I wouldn't be flying if it wasn't for Civil Air Patrol. So there's lots of really good things that could come out of volunteering, but you got to want to put in the work to do it. So that sheet that I handed out, you just keep it in your flight bag, make copies of it with whatever you want. It's just a little, it has all the different radio calls on it that you would use on a flight. Your aircraft call sign, the grid, latitude, longitude, area for notes. It's just, it's a nice little template. Use it if you like, but I found that there's probably everything that you need to record as a scanner is going to be on is on that piece of paper for a flight.
Is this designed for a grid, or can you put any scanner you want?
That's a grid, yeah. So typically for scanners, what we'd like you to do is be able to draw in what your grid looks like on this little rectangle, right? And so that as you're going along and you see a teacup, an object, you'd mark it down, you put the lat law on there, you make some notes. Anybody have any questions or comments to this point about where we're going and where we've been this year? Yeah.
One of the other issues, because I'm also signed up to do the AP, but it's very tough to find a set to do the famine prep for the AP. We don't have any here, and
Okay.
there's none around here.
I'm not a set for AP.
No.
So the one and only thing that I've never done.
I'm going to lay this right at your feet there, Dave. This is what you've got to do this year. You've got to become a set for AP. We need you in the group to do it.
Yeah.
I know that you can do it.
Speaking of sets, I nominated myself and Chris to be a set for a number of qualifications. I can be, based on my experience, can be a set for scanner and for observer, for sure. And I submit, Michael, actually I cannot nominate myself, so Michael nominated me. I nominated Chris.
Did you get any answer on that yet?
Nothing. Well, I think it's stuck at our group level, and I'll talk to Major Banner about it. I think, what is his name?
Well, actually, no, because I'm the group ops guy, and I authorize it, so it went to group. So Wing is your last guy.
Well, Sears reached out to me, and he questioned if I'm qualified as a set, and he questioned if he's qualified
Who is
as a
Sears?
set.
Is he the emergency services
Sears
officer?
is the deputy commander for Group 3.
Okay.
I don't know where it's stuck.
I,
I don't know what else I can
He was under
do.
the impression that to be an MO or MS set, you need to be a pilot. And I was like,
what? Okay, so I'm confused because this should be coming across my desk as the DO. Emergency services, DOV, all of that is under operations.
You may not have seen it because I authorized it already.
Okay.
So, for example,
But
I
for
could
Wing,
call
you're
him.
not a wing. You're not a wing ops, are you?
No, but what I hear is it's being held up at the group level
No,
by
group
Robert.
level. I've already authorized it.
Okay, all right. So the next hurdle will be Kathleen Brown, probably.
Quite possibly Catherine Brown. Yeah.
Is anybody going to the Wing conference here?
unfortunately, I'm not, because I'm traveling internationally, and
I'm
Okay.
going
Very
just on
weak.
Saturday, and I'm not staying down there for the whole thing.
Okay. There's a lot of good politics to be played at the Wing conference. So
Yeah, that's the time you pull somebody's ear and see if you can get
Yeah.
your authorizations that are held up done.
all right, please keep me in the loop on that. I want to know about that because I will.
So, David, for you to become a set, all you have to do is complete skill evaluation training, and I can nominate you as a set.
There
You
you go.
have other prerequisites.
That's all we need
Great.
right there.
Right on it.
Okay, so that was the easy button right there. Just you got to go do the work now. Sorry,
Wow.
apologize. You got extra homework now.
And after that, we will try to push it through the channels for 3 of us to get the qualification as a set. Let's see, for example, like,
I'll even bribe you with London.
Sounds like a deal.
Yeah. Get her going.
so
been much said about the
Still pending.
wing conference as to fly-ins and where they're going to go and who's going to do transportation to the hotel, etc.
There should be information disseminated to those who signed up. They are not sending it wing-wide, only to those who is registered. Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
I've been toying. It's a bad weekend. It's the third weekend,
Yeah.
right? Or the second weekend in October.
Mike?
Where does one get the training pre-needing a set for AP?
Well, to be a set, you have to be on active qualification for a period of time, and then complete.
No, I'm saying before one needs a set to get signed off, what's the starting position to get
How do you
trained?
become an AP?
The prerequisite for AP, I'll show you that, right, is to be a mission scanner first. If you already qualify as mission scanner, that's a prerequisite for AP.
Okay.
So if you don't, if you already have a mass, you can just request track to be approved by me, like just Chris did. He submitted a request a moment ago, and I approved it.
Seeing that I've used the camera in the plane multiple times, I guess I should get qualified.
You should qualify
Right.
as an AP. But the way to find out, you go to e-services, then you go to ops qualifications, then you go to Squitter,
All the lines.
and then you find airborne photographer, and voila. So you have to be mission scanner, you have to have GS, and then you have to get commander approval for prerequisites. So the way it works, you click here, and you
date.
click put a date,
Just the date, that's it.
and hit submit. That's it.
That was for approval.
That's for approval.
If
You're
just
gonna get
scroll up
one.
a little bit, Andre, so you can see the fan prep. There's only 9 different tasks that you have to.
That's FAM and prep, and it's not that difficult. If you are familiar with camera, more or less.
Transfer images to view. I mean, obviously you're going to have a set sign you off on that, which is why Dave's going to be a set here, and you can come into the squadron, demonstrate that you can take a picture of the board there, transfer it to the computer, etc., etc.
And once you complete FAM and prep, you're gonna get my approval again for continuation, for advanced training, and from there you need to do standard stuff. Go to SAREX exercise or use a rolling mission to get yourself
We
checked
can use
out.
the rolling mission here this year to get you guys signed off on that. There's no question about it. So we can fly here locally. We have a grid here that I fly out and train in AP all the time. And we get this stuff signed off. So I don't see any reason that by June we couldn't have a couple of new APs in here. That sounds like a long time off. That's like light speed for Silver Patrol.
We can get it
Just
done
based on
faster. It's
schedules
just
If we can get a set, because I mean I can get it very quickly as well. So
Right. So all of our hopes are pinned on you, Dave, for the set. So
Well, and what's really cool is once you get AP, then you can go to Waldo School and there's all kinds of neat stuff that you can get engaged with.
Waldo, that's such an enigma. I don't know what the camera costs, but it costs enough that they just don't have them all over the place, and it weighs enough that they don't put them on every airplane, and it's political enough that if you've got to kind of be on the end to get that training. We'll see what happens with that.
Have you flown one of the aircraft with the Waldo on it?
Huh.
Because we were at a CD once where they had it. I wasn't on board the plane, but apparently it changes landing quite a bit. Yeah.
The aircraft, a Turbo 206 should be in that hangar over there. This is one of the most centrally located airports for California pilot or California wing pilots. When we had it here, we had over 100 different pilots from the wing fly our aircraft in 1 year. Think about that. That aircraft has been flown for 2.7 hours of actual mission time this year in San Diego.
So-
Actually, it went up north. 437's up north in Sacramento somewhere.
Yeah.
I thought it was somebody.
And
It was
I think right
transferred.
now it's
was transferred up
In
there.
100 hours.
Cup US Air Force is flying it as a
Where?
It was,
Cup USF liaison is flying it.
Oh, the liaison, yeah.
well, nobody's flying it right now because it's involved with a prop strike.
Yes.
Uh,
Oh boy.
They keep
Hey,
damaging that
and-
aircraft.
no, it wasn't a CAP pilot. It was parked and tied down. And
So
aircraft that was leaving a restaurant was so far off the center line of the taxi line that when they turned left, their wing struck the prop and moved it. And so they're figuring out what to do with it. This guy didn't admit it. In fact, they just saw it on it. It was flown several times before they saw the incident on videotape.
It should have left
wasn't-
some kind of indication on the prop edge, leading edge or trailing edge, one of the two.
Whatever the case, there's several guys that flew the airplane that didn't know it had a prop strike. The only reason they knew it was, I didn't see the airplane. I mean, you'd think you'd see something on it. The only reason they knew is this guy that actually hit it had the balls to come back and say, I hit a light post here and I want you to reimburse me for my wing. And they went and back reviewed the tape, and that light pole was our prop. So, anyway, good things come to those. Yeah.
Hey, so the biggest factor of why there's such a decrease in search and rescue missions is because of the drone, like the increase in
The
drone
biggest
technology?
factor is the technology that we have. We've got Becker ELT units. If an aircraft does go down, it often broadcasts a lat long with it.
Oh, right.
The fact that you've got shared services or location services on your phone. If you go missing, there's actually a CAP forensics team in Scott Air Force Base that's going to track you down, and they've got lots of fines just by that. When they send out the local authorities, the helicopter goes right to where it was at. So it's just the increase in technology.
Right.
No, the sheriff's department
Your turn.
wants to pay for aircraft.
Oh. Thank you.
So a word about how to find a set. So unfortunately I cannot show it to the guys on Teams, but I'm showing PRMA app. It's a mobile app, which is not really an app, it's a mobile website. So on that app, you go and you see set list. You click on it, and then when you look by rating, you're gonna get all the ratings in emergency services. You click on airborne photographer, and you will see individuals there. So I honestly don't know anyone in a close enough vicinity other than our new wing commander, Craig Newton, who is more or less close by. Everything else is pretty far.
He won't be available to be doing that, so we're going to have to get you. A0, by the way, is the onboarding program. I guess I should have known that. So when we bring you on as a pilot, it'll all be paid for. Those flights will be paid for. A2, we didn't know what that was. That's the Reaper escort missions, which there's going to be some of those this month, supposedly, at a March Air Reserve base.
Well, I sign up. We'll see if I get
Yeah.
picked.
Trouble is, it travels faster than
Yeah,
the
I
182.
was gonna say, like,
It
can we
cruises
keep up with a Reaper?
Over 200 knots.
Don't know anything about it. A4 is green flag missions. Okay, you have to have 1,500 hours of like combat time to get that. It's like you basically you've got to be a cappy,
Never see it.
a Navy captain, carrier landings to get that. A5 is training. A6 is Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps. So that's ROTC flights. So out of all these, A3 is a real mission, A1 is a real mission, and A18, Air Defense Intercept, is a real mission. Besides that, these are all just poking holes in the sky and training and,
Burning gas.
right.
I have a few hours with Chalk 2 chasing the Reapers out of March.
Oh, do you?
In the 210.
Oh, nice.
They slow down for you.
Oh, nice.
Otherwise, they'll burn you. Yeah, they can burn you up, down.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, do you see the
Acceleration,
thing?
deceleration.
I saw something that they're trying to get FAA approval to have drone pilots, military drone pilots, have reduced ATP requirements, so that they don't have to go for the 15
Well, our squadron over there, the 163rd, they used to have a really nice SR-22 to keep current.
Hmm.
Then somebody took it away from them, so they don't.
Oh, what a bummer. I bet everybody threw that as thrown down. So it's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of get a sense, or give you guys a sense of where I think we're headed in terms of actual flying is going, what we did this year in terms of flying, and what we need in terms of people getting trained up. So hopefully I did a little bit of that.
Do we know
If we have any questions, you talk to me after the meeting.
do we
I
know
want to
who
talk to you.
do we know who the most available cabin instructor is in this area right now?
Oh, boy.
Who, what?
Shane Telekarotne. Now, I don't know how available he is, but he's the nearest guy. At a march.
And by the way, we did
You know
lose
Shane?
Jim.
I don't know him. I just met him once.
Okay.
We did lose Jim.
Yeah, God rest his soul. Ironically, I had Jim Hottoys, will disclose with this, has been a member of Civil Air Patrol since maybe the early 2000s, maybe 2000 or so. When I first met him, he
About 2006, 2008, somewhere around there.
no, earlier than that, I know for
99.
sure. He was,
99.
I know for a fact I was an Imperial with him in the year 2000. Anyway, he was very heavily involved with Civil Air Patrol. Retired professor, very gregarious, outgoing guy, interesting guy to talk to, really smart guy. Donated all of his time to retirement he spent in Civil Air Patrol. He was very, very active. In March of this year, I was at Imperial with him, and he pulled me aside. It's almost like one of those things you feel like you're in trouble, because he was like, had that commanding presence. And he told me that he was sick, and that he wanted me to take over DO, and I told him that I would. But I could tell you the guy was, he basically told me he had a terminal illness, and was just about the most positive guy I'd ever met. I mean, I can't believe how positive he was. So he actually passed away on the 16th of September. I think that's what it was. Andre and I were flying counter-drug that day, fittingly. We bought a flag and flew it on our last mission home from Imperial and sent it to his family.
Oh, very good.
As a little bit of a thank you for his service. So.
He was a really nice guy, but he was one of the local check pilots around here, so we
Yeah,
lost him.
yeah.
Somebody to replace
So,
him.
unfortunately, but anyway.
But don't be shy to look outside our group. I hope Brad Wind is still around, but he would fly anywhere you want to fly. He used to be very
Do you
responsive.
have the onboarding form?
I do, and I've started
The profile? Okay. I want to send you right now Shane's phone number.
Okay.
Okay. Because the very first thing, and the meeting's over, I guess,
Yeah.
but the first thing that I want you to do is call Shane and get a
Michelle,
flight
you have a
as soon as you
question?
possibly can. Now.
Yes, I'm not sure if Terry's finished or not, but we didn't get a chance to go over the October 14th details, and I wanted the guys to go over that since they spoke to the restaurant manager or the owner.
Yeah, so let
about
me
the
bring
planes
you
and
on
treats.
TV. Hold on a second. I will bring you up, and that's a good point. So few more minutes for the October 14th event.
Chris and Chuck can talk to that since they were at the meeting with Christina from 29.
Okay. Let me wait for TV to connect. Chris, would you like to say a few words about planes and treats?
Some of that observer stuff I can do too.
Yeah, so we met with Christina from Corona Squadron and the cafe owner on Saturday morning, and Sunday morning, and they outlined most of the details in the chat, but I want to make sure everybody's aware of them because I know a lot of people don't look at the chats. On October 14th, we'll be setting up. Setup starts at 2 p.m. We'll be requesting everybody anybody who wants to help out to try to get there by 1:30 so we can coordinate all of our activities, and where we're going to go. we will need to know who's going to come so that the cafe owner can get us. Sorry, got an echo there. Hold on. Sorry, Michelle's got the speakers going off. Okay. Um, we need to get what do you call these wristbands so that from the cafe owner so that we can be marked as volunteers. So we'll need to know who's going to help with this. Obviously, Michelle, myself, and Chuck, as well as several members from Corona Squadron. We do plan to have a display with our wreaths across America information there so that people can sign up. And we're also going to hoping to talk to some of the sponsors that are there to see if they wanted to, donate in mass for the wreaths instead of just one-offs. Parking is going to be a nightmare there, so don't count on just showing up and pulling right in. The whole area, the whole airport entrance is going to be controlled through a combination of the cadets as well as other airport workers and volunteers to all of parking will be occurring over at the Harvest Church. The actual airport parking lot is reserved for approximately 80 vendors that she said that they're going to be there, and the far west end of the parking lot will be reserved for volunteers, but that's limited as well, so that's part of the reason I need to get there early. Obviously, we could also, for those of us who can get into the airport grounds, can get into the gated area, but keep in mind that you're going to have to deal with a lot of traffic getting in and out of there if you get there after the event opens at 4 o'clock. Although last year she said they had a lineup of people starting around 3 o'clock, so that's again where we're asking everybody to show up earlier on that. But yeah, I wanted to make sure everybody knows about it, and if you wanted to help out, it's we got a week and a half to pull this off, and I was able to say this all without coughing once, so that's good.
So what I'll do, Chris, I'll create a sign-up sheet via Microsoft Forms and send it to the whole squadron. So those who are able to volunteer can report, and I'll make you, I'll give you access to that result spreadsheet. Yes, Michael?
Yeah, I like to volunteer.
Good. So I'll be on lookout for the email. I will also post that sign-up sheet on general chat on Teams. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks so much, Chris, Michelle, Chuck, for spearheading this event. I think it's a good opportunity for us to raise awareness about Squadron at Riverside, B, get potential donations on Wreath Across America. All right. Any other questions, comments? Cool. Well, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for those attending online, and talk to you next week. I got your email. All good. Thank you, sir.